United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and thank you for coming. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. The first order of business is the action on minutes. To see what action the board wishes to take regarding approval of the minutes from the meeting held on February 24th, 2025. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, David. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Stephanie. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approval of the minutes from February 24th? Thank you, it's unanimous. Next, we have citizen comments. Is there anyone here from the public that wishes to speak?
So, Lindsay Lecce, I'm the Bryant Common resident. I don't have any students here to share news. They're working on it. But I, as the admin representative of our district wellness team, just wanted to let the board know that, I know you're going to be talking about some policy stuff, but our adult ed is offering high-intensity interval training classes. This will be a second session of this, and we are offering the wellness team from the district a 50% discount to district employees who join us. It is in the morning at 6 a.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we would like to extend that invitation to our board members if you'd like to come sweat and grunt. And it's a lot of fun, actually, and it starts next Tuesday, but you can register through Adult Ed. So just wanted to make sure you guys were invited today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here from the public that would like to speak? Moving on to board member comments. Are there any board members that would like to speak this evening? Seeing none, I'll move on to the chairman's report, which is very brief. It's just a reminder for anyone running for a school board seat to turn in your nomination petitions to the respective towns tomorrow at 2 p.m. And that concludes the chairman's report. Upcoming committee and board meetings. Our next SAD 44 board meeting will be Monday, April 14th at 6:30 p.m. here in the Telstar Library. The Education Committee will meet Thursday, April 10th at 3 p.m. in the Roy Savings Bank Conference Room. Finance and Negotiations Committee will meet Tuesday, tomorrow, March 18th at 5:30 p.m. in the Central Office. Facilities and Personnel will meet Monday, April 14th at 5:15 in room 131 here at Telstar. The Policy Committee will meet again Monday, March 31st at 10 a.m. in room 131 at Telstar. And the Region 9 Cooperative Board will meet Wednesday, April 2nd at 6 p.m. at the Region 9 School of Applied Technology. Moving on to committee reports, reporting to the Education Committee, Ms. Baer.
The Education Committee met last Thursday and really just started the conversation about testing and data. Got a nice introduction in terms of what types of data, testing data we have, challenges with those, what is useful data to look at, what might not be so useful to look at. Like I said, really just the start of the conversation, going to be continuing discussions to figure out what sort of regular cadence of data should be presented to the school board and the timing of that.
For Facilities and Personnel, Mr. Kendall.
Yep, so we just did a tour of the middle and high school facilities, which was great. Arlene walked us around and told us some of the things they've been doing and some of the things they'd like to be doing in the future. And we're going to continue these tours. We're going to do CPS next month and then Woodstock the month after that, so we can kind of get a behind the scenes look. And then we met briefly just to go over, heading into the spring and summer, the fields, some plans for those and what we're looking at for the future. And then I feel like every time the bus garage comes up, so we talked about that again.
For the Finance Committee, Ms. Sarah.
Good evening, everyone. Last week we started to review the cost centers, draft budgets of each of those. So we reviewed 4 of them. 2 of them are $0, and then we also reviewed student support and other instruction. And we continue to meet weekly. We're meeting tomorrow, as Erin said. Stephanie and Brian and Beth have all attended multiple meetings and asked really good questions. So if you have interest to learn about the budget process or what we're working on before we present it to the full board, I encourage you to come.
Thank you, Meredith. And for the Policy Committee, Mr. Bartlett.
I was not at the policy committee meeting the last time we met, so I'm going to refer everything over to Stephanie tonight.
Yes, so we met and we spent the majority of the time going over the wellness policy. There were several different iterations of it, some from MSMA, some from us. I think we had 2 going on at the same time, so we're really trying to take the best of all of the bits from the policy committees. And I think we had a couple from different districts as well. And we're trying to work with Beth, who is also on the wellness committee, and is also on the policy committee. So she's kind of guiding us through what she's gleaning from the wellness committee, and we are slowly but surely getting together the best of the wellness.
And for Region 9, Mr. Brown.
Thursday night we have a budget meeting, and so hopefully it'll be done, and I can have some numbers for our finance committee when we meet next Tuesday, with any luck.
Good evening. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Kenny for the superintendent's report and correspondence.
Good evening, everybody. Let's see, we have a slot of HR. So appointments, Schedule B appointments at Telstar High School. Head track coaches Dave LeClaire and Morgan Richmond. Head baseball coach Josh Mowry. Assistant baseball coach Ryan Kimball. Head softball coach Michael O'Leary. And assistant softball coach Jamie Miller. For the middle school, we have head track coach Christy Hanscom. Head baseball Tim O'Connor. Assistant baseball coach Josh Elliott. Head softball Natasha Howard. And assistant softball coach Shina Cordwell. We have 2 new appointments. We have a custodian hired at Crescent Park Elementary School, Kevin Pond, and an Ed Tech 3 in special ed at Crescent Park, Parker Thurston. We have 2 resignations. Woodstock Grade 1, Tracy Moore is effective this Thursday, March 20th, 2025. And Telstar High School receptionist and guidance secretary Tanya Lewis, effective March 20th, 2025 as well. And then there are 2 agenda items coming up later for appointments and approvals. PTA updates. Who wants to go first?
You're good. I'll go first. You guys have more money than we do. Crescent Park PTA is working on some exciting things for the spring. We met 2 weeks ago, I think, and are working on our slate of officers for next year. And if you show up, you might just be made an officer, so I encourage you to come on by. No, we've got some exciting things happening, working on field day, things that I've mentioned before, but some good things for our kids.
Yeah, Woodstock is working on Basket Bingo. Our annual Basket Bingo date has officially been chosen, so that will be April 12th. So that is a Saturday, and the doors will open a little bit earlier this year. We're going to open at 10 a.m. and games will start at noon. We will have all of our great Longaberger baskets filled with goodies to win. We will have raffles, we'll have door prizes, we'll have lunch for sale, and then the 5th graders will be doing their annual bake sale to continue raising funds for Boston. So yeah, come on out and join us and have a great time.
And for Telstar, Jamie couldn't be here tonight, but the Telstar PTA held their March meeting in which time many exciting middle school and high school updates were shared by Mr. Elliott, the administrative representative of this month's meeting. The main state PTA convention agenda has been shared, and at least one member plans to attend the virtual convention this year. Keep an eye out for new Rebel Gear options this spring. More to come on this. Planning for a community trivia night is still in the works. We're finalizing details this month. Other fun ideas were shared as well. Importantly, officer nominations are being accepted for president, secretary, and treasurer through April 29th. For anyone who would like to learn more about these positions, they can reach out to any of the current officers. And thank you for your time, Jamie. And at this time, I would like to turn the floor over to Mr. Steve Lieber from Affinity Lighting. He has a presentation for you this evening to go over a project that we learned about last month in our facilities committee meeting, and you'll be voting on later on tonight as well. So,
May I pull a chair up?
Wherever you'd like, yes,
Thank you.
wherever you're most comfortable.
Thanks for the invite. We met a few weeks ago with the Facilities Committee. I think I met Scott and Dave, Brian, Marcy, who I had my back turned to most of the time. I've already apologized tonight for that. And Amy, and I think Andrew was the other member who was not here tonight. Thanks for the invite. My name is Steve Lieber. I'm the owner and founder of Affinity LED Lighting. For those who were here a few weeks ago, it'll be a little bit repetitive, but my company is based out of Dover, New Hampshire. I started it in 2012 after leaving supply chain world after 20 years. This was back in the incubation stages of LED lighting when it was sort of a race to the bulbs and tubes sockets out there, and just a chance meeting with somebody who was moving into this industry convinced me, and then I had to convince my wife, that it was time to leave my corporate job and start something where I could start a manufacturing business in the United States, because I had spent many, many years overseas in a different industry. Fast forward to 2015, our facility in the Dover, Washington Street Mill in Dover, New Hampshire, was approved as a UL manufacturing site. All of our lighting is built by US veterans in Dover, so you know, we're the only lighting manufacturer actually in the Northeast United States, and all assembly work is done by US veterans. Our business is primarily municipal, state, and K-12 districts is what we do. Aside from exterior lighting, which is street lighting, in the states of Maine and New Hampshire, we have about 70% of all the street lights that have been installed in these two states that have actually been built in my shop and installed by us. So what we do is, we're not only a manufacturer, we're a turnkey provider. We project manage the entire project from the beginning to the end. We've spent countless number of hours with Arlen going through the schools multiple times to do our initial audits, secondary audits, and then eventually electrical walkthroughs, and even walkthroughs with the Efficiency Maine folks. So we know these schools really, really well, and know that there's a massive opportunity for upgrading. We're going to get into the numbers, probably is the most important side of this, but I would also like to say, thank you to Arlen, because she has been very, very patient. We like to measure twice and cut once, and make sure that we have everything that's accurate, because we are ultimately responsible. What makes us different than most companies out there, and there's not many like us, but most companies are just an electrical contractor who would go and buy lights and come through and change lighting. Everything that we build is smart lighting, first of all, so it is the latest and greatest technology out there. Because we build it, we know it's better, so we give you an additional 2 years of warranty as well, a longer warranty than what the industry offers. And the other difference with us is, we're the only people that you call. If there's ever a question or service needed, it's not, who's the manufacturer, how do I find them, how do I discuss a warranty? Everything is built and serviced by us down in Dover, New Hampshire, which is just a couple hours away. For us, that's like going out for milk. For others, it might be a long drive. But, so that's what we do. Any questions so far? Okay, so we have been through the schools, all the schools with complete audits and running energy models, which are in your packages in those folded pages with quite a bit of detail. We've got almost 2,100 fixtures in the 3 schools, which are Crescent, Telstar, and Woodstock, were the schools that we audited. Our plan is to change 97% of the lighting to smart lighting. So what does smart lighting do? First of all, it's very, very efficient. The highest energy efficiency, because as a small company, we can move quicker as technology upgrades. We do that as often as we need to be with the latest. So energy efficiency is considered to be defined as lumens per watt, how much light comes out for every single watt. And we're way up in the 150 and 160. The industry is stuck a little bit between 110 and 125. But there's an approval there by the governing bodies that sort of sign off on the technology requirements that says that's okay. It's not okay for us, because we know you can build more efficient lighting. What that means is, when you compare a light that has been developed and produced by us, you'll use less power to put out the same amount of light, so there's more savings, obviously. And that's the most important thing, is what kind of a return on investment is gonna happen in your schools. So out of the nearly 2,100 lights, 2,073 to be exact, 97% of those will be smart. Smart meaning lights that are near windows will harvest daylight. On really bright days, you'll look up and you'll notice that suddenly they have dimmed down to almost being off if they don't need to be on. And they will balance the light in the room based on how much natural light is available, which is, something that, normal lighting just doesn't do. We also have dynamic occupancy settings. It's not like just a central occupancy setting in the center of a room or a couple in a hallway. Every single light has a luminaire lighting level control, meaning a sensor. And those occupancy sensors can be set to do all kinds of things to squeeze the sponge in terms of energy. Parts of rooms can be programmed. For example, in a space like this, you can have a school board meeting setting where over on the smart switch, you press a button and toggle into school board meeting. The rest of the lights, not sitting at this table, but the rest of the room, will go down to maybe 30%, so there's good light, but it's not task lighting for your notes. All those little things will squeeze the sponge. We set every classroom with the projector or TV screen setting where the teachers walk over and press a button, lights in front of the screen, shut off to make it brighter, to keep the attention of the students, and the rest of the room goes down to 30% so they can take notes and nobody's sleeping in the back. The younger grades, where there's reading circles, there's a setting to hit the reading circle, so the kids sitting around the reading circle, it's nice and bright, but the rest of the room is just dimmed down because it's not needed. Everything is customizable and programmable for facilities people. Every single closet door that normally has like a switch in there, every one of those fixtures will be smart. So when they open the door, the light will turn on, and when they close the door, it'll shut off. Facilities people have a lot of work to do, and often we do find that sometimes people forget to hit switches, and it's easy to come in, it's common to come into a building on a Monday morning and find that there's closets or lights that might be on because somebody just missed it, not by any fault, but because they have a lot of things to do. And just closing the door behind them and forgetting. So that'll all go away. The last piece of what we'll be providing is, because the efficiencies are so high, between these schools, I mentioned 97%, the other 3%, by the way, is things like bulbs that need to be in the hoods of the kitchens, exterior lighting, which is not considered to be smart, it's just on PhotoWise and will run. So that's the difference of the 3%. In total, we're talking about 375,000 kilowatt hours on an annualized basis reduction. That's 87% of the electricity you currently use on your lighting will go away. And if you try to figure out, like, how do we do that? An example in this room is a typical light, and there's way too many, and they're tired, so they don't put out a lot of light. And and part of our, we've had this conversation several times. We have a plan to reconfigure this entire ceiling. We're not ripping it down and tearing it. It was like, how do you retrofit a room like this and make it look spectacular? Part of it is making them all look blank, just like you see over there, and putting in really nice linear lighting that's set up so you can run any type of scenes that you want. The expectation is probably about a 90% savings in the library itself, with more light. So, an example of what happens is one typical fixture, and there's 198 of them here. I remember that count. You couldn't believe it, so we counted twice. We have never run into a 2.5 by 5 foot square, by the way. This is the first place that we run into these. So a typical light has 2 fluorescent bulbs that you see in here now. That's a 60-watt rated fixture. We're gonna bring in 38-watt rated linear lights that will be high-end trimmed, probably down to 27 watts, that put out, you know, I think we have 60 of them planned in here, that will trim down to just about 30 watts, maybe 29 or 28 watts. High-end trim, the reason why we use the term trim, the lights are really bright. They don't need to put out all of their light output, so we will trim them to meet the proper light photometrics in the room without putting too much, and that becomes the new 100%. From there, every single room will have a switch to be able to go over and do manual dimming up and down, because pretty much every classroom, our experience is teachers like to control sort of like what level of lighting that they want, so they'll have the ability to be able to trim, aside from all the scenes that happen. So we take a 60-watt fixture out, actually 2 of them. We take 2 60-watt fixtures out and we put in about a 30-watt fixture, 29, 28. From there, it'll harvest daylight. The expectation in a room like this is we're gonna get somewhere between 15 and 20% of harvesting, typically. And that is just between super bright days and non-super bright days. Take that off the top again. And then you have manual dimming and occupancy. And as you see, it just begins to, you know, come down further and further. Most importantly, you know, it's fully customizable. We do all the programming for you after sort of setting what type of personality that you'd like the lights in different spaces, classrooms, offices, hallways, bathrooms, gym, library, cafeteria, and it's kind of set it and forget it. It is not, it runs by Bluetooth wireless mesh system, so every room is really kind of programmed by Bluetooth, and it's a set it and forget it. It can't be hacked into because maybe a student says, well, I'm going to download the Affinity LED Connected app. If they don't have the QR codes, they can't touch a light, they wouldn't see them. So the facilities team will have the books, and only the facilities team, so nobody can really touch the programs at all. We talked about how much energy you'll be saving, 87%, which represents 375,000 kilowatt hours. That also translates to over 600,000 pounds of CO2 averted a year, just by using less power. So the contribution of the community to the environment, for some that's very important, and for others it's like, show us the money, what's it going to cost? But it's a really good news story in terms of the doing good side. There's the doing well side, which of course is the financials, which we'll talk about, and then there's the doing good side. And we believe they are not mutually exclusive ideas, you can do both at the same time. So in terms of the financials, the savings on the project, conservative, and when I mention conservative, I explained this to the facilities committee, at $70,000 a year reduction, we always hit our numbers. And the reason why we hit our numbers is our energy models on advanced lighting controls were developed with the partner, the utility partner that we do the most business with. And that is Eversource, which is out of Massachusetts and New Hampshire. They have about 50% of the state of Massachusetts and about 2/3 of the state of New Hampshire. So we have really close relationships with them, and their engineers helped us to put these models together that ensured conservative estimates, because Eversource cannot, will not report to the Public Utility Commission savings that they can't meet. When there's paying out, and every utility it's the same thing, when you're paying out incentive money, which there is some from Efficiency Maine, you're buying kilowatt hour reduction, and that's being reported to the Public Utility Commission. So you can expect absolutely 10 to 15% more savings, but we're not going to talk about the 10 to 15% more. We're going to give you the conservative estimate, because part of this is also driven on the financials of, there is no impact to your budget, there is no impact to the taxpayers. We have presented you in this packet a municipal lease purchase. A municipal lease purchase is using you hold your electric budget where it is. And it's the one place that you probably don't have to go into a lot of negotiation during budget season, which we know is sort of in the midst and, now going through the approvals. The electric budget is sort of like the known. What you won't need to do is put accelerators on your electric budget. You hold it where it is, and you will be underspent by $70,000 at the end of the year. The underspent money in your electric budget is used to pay for the municipal lease. And that is a legitimate way to finance in pretty much every state across the country. Absolutely in Maine and New Hampshire, Massachusetts, municipal lease purchases can be approved by the board as the governing body. You're authorized to make those decisions.
Supervisor, question?
Yes.
I guess first of all, I think it's a good idea, but I have questions. I thought this was going to be talked about more in the finance committee, but here we are tonight, being asked to vote on it. I guess that was my understanding, how it fits into the budget. I'm sure he makes sense that it's going to be a wash. We're going to pay out our loan payment, or call it lease payment. But so we're going to, according to this gentleman, we're going to pay out of our electricity budget to pay a loan. It's kind of a gimmick. I mean, why don't we just call it what it is and cut our electric budget? Or, I thought we'd have a conversation in the context of the next year's budget, where it goes and how it's going to look. I'm not just disparaging you, or not deliberately anyway, but that's it. I guess I don't know. I mean, my recollection of the committee meeting, you gotta work in the summer. You gotta do your time.
It depends. We're either.
I guess what I'm getting, the sooner we give you a green light, the more.
It depends on.
The better off we are.
Absolutely. Obviously, the cost of waiting, once you see what the numbers look, the cost of waiting is, but you have to, obviously be comfortable.
I'm not,
on how
I mean,
that
I think
works.
your cost is fair. The other part I thought we were gonna have a little more time is, trust but verify. I'm sure it's a good product. Have we talked to any of these people yet? Have you called them, Mark, and talked to your counterpart and any of the customers here and say, do you like it? Did these guys treat you right?
The only customer we talk to is the town manager.
Okay. So that's the other part. I guess I'd rather not vote tonight. If we have to vote, I don't know. I'll vote for it. I don't know what we're gonna do. I'm just, to the chair, I guess I thought we were gonna have a little more time to talk about it. Brian, you were the committee, maybe I misunderstood where this is all going, but.
I understood the budgeting process for it and how he explained it, that I think if we did it a different way, that you're talking about as a loan instead of municipal lease, we'd have to have
It is
more
a
of a
loan.
tax.
It's a loan, that's what it is.
We'd have to have a vote on the taxpayer because we're.
Right, so we're running a gimmick to try to circumvent.
It wouldn't be a
spirit of the
gimmick
law.
if it's legal, that's the.
I'm not sure it is legal, but I guess it doesn't, around here, it's a relative term anyway, so.
I understood the process for how we were getting the money from the first meeting that we had, and then bringing it to the board on the second time.
Any comments are made, and I guess keep going, we'll go.
Okay.
So,
I'd like to address this though, because I think what you're bringing up is very important. So the way a municipal lease purchase works, and the important clause.
you own it till the end. That's my understanding. I do understand how they work more or less. I've been involved with them.
So you're actually the owner of the materials, and what makes a municipal lease purchase not a debt and comes out of your annual operating expense is the fact that there is a non-appropriations clause in the lease. So each year as you appropriate in your budgets, your electric bill, part of that electricity spend is actually appropriated to pay for the municipal lease. By pulling it out, reducing your electric budget and saying, okay, we're gonna do this as a financed loan, you're now taking on a debt and you have to bring that to either the school board makes a decision or it needs to go to the townspeople for, a town meeting for voting. And this is actually the avenue that is very, very common on any type of energy project. It's either an energy savings performance contract or it's a municipal lease. And it allows you to spend your operating expenses.
My condonement is not agreement. My sounds not agreement, but we'll just let it ride. I think it sounds like circumvention, which again, this is the sort of what I'm, I'm all for it, I think it's a good product, I think we ought to do the project, we certainly need it, and, you know, that's where it is, so I guess we'll go from there, thank you. Thank you too.
Sure, no problem. So, the total cost of the project, net, including the project cost, the incentives, and the cost of the money as part of the municipal lease purchase ends up to be $599,000. At $70,000 a year, annual savings, that comes out to about 8.6 years. Now, if you flip from page 7, a few pages down, just past page 10, you'll see the municipal lease consultant's document that shows your annual payments will be $66,500. So absent of anything above and beyond that conservative estimate, you're $3,000 cash positive on your electric bill. Because the estimate is $70,000, we'll certainly hit that. The payment is $66,000, and that's made for 9 consecutive payments, so it's a 9-year municipal lease payment. And the things that we haven't added into the cost.
You said $599, but it's $509.
It's $509 less, there is incentive money, $47,000 that's been, it says estimated, but it's been confirmed. We have the documents of confirmation from Efficiency Maine for $47,000 of incentives. And the cost of the money for the lease purchase is $136,000. So net, it comes out to a project net cost of $599,000.
So you're getting, so the credit accrues to you? Efficiency Maine?
No, the Efficiency Maine money will come to you,
So it's
so.
our net's $509, I got it,
Yeah,
thank
so
you.
so in the first year, you're gonna make 2 payments. At the end of the first year, you're gonna make the payment on the $46,800 that Efficiency Maine will pay you. As we close a building, the Efficiency Maine incentive money, paperwork is turned in, and they make that payment to the school district. So, at the end of the year, by the end of the first year, you'll make your payment on the incentive money that is coming to you, and then you'll make your first year payment. And then the following 8 payments are just the annual savings payment. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, I get it.
And now, what has not been included in, we haven't put any accelerators in for, we expect energy costs to go up, or the delivery and transmission costs, those things which, you know, pretty much every 6 months, the utilities raise those costs a little bit. Bless you. We have not included any of those accelerators, so as time goes by and costs continue to increase, this proposal will actually save more money. Not just the opportunity of the cost being higher, but the savings will actually go up, so the project will pay for itself. The last piece is, because, you know, interest rates and, you know, are in the 5 range today, and if we look back 3 years ago on school lease purchases, they were in like the low 3s, there is an expectation by municipal leasing consultants. They're out of Burlington, Vermont, 2 sisters, twin sisters, that have been doing this for 37 years, so the entire industry goes to them to shop for the best rates. They expect that there will be refinancing when it's the appropriate time, when interest rates are in the right place to be able to bring down the costs of the leases. So I wanted to mention that to you, because we're seeing obviously accelerating, you know, delivery and transmission, systems benefit charges are increasing every 6 months by the utilities. Energy is fluctuating. We probably aren't gonna see it go down very soon, or ever, but interest rates could go down, and that could impact in a positive way your municipal lease purchase. Does that make sense? So, on page 9, which is just past the green pages, the chart, it shows, you know, you're making decisions, although the lights officially, you know, we have to turn in third-party certification lab reports that show that we meet all the technical requirements of you know, Design Lights Consortium, which is the Energy Star of LED lighting. Part of the technical requirements is to have a certain number of operating hours. Our lights are designed to run at 100,000 operating hours. And it's done by a series of algorithms that the Department of Energy had given all lighting companies. We all have to follow it. So the lights are actually officially rated, depending on the operating space in your schools, somewhere between 28 and 35 years. We're showing you the numbers for 20 years. You're making a decision for lights that are realistically going to be up for the next 20 years. I joke saying 20 years from now we'll be spraying quantum dots on the ceiling or something, you know, that illuminate spaces. We don't know what that technology will be. But the return on your investment is over $800,000. That's after paying for the project. The return on your investment is over $800,000 at today's energy costs across those 20 years. That's 1.4 million in savings, and then, of course, the project is paid for. So the financials are important, you know, to understand that, you know, there's not many, it's the only, you know, type of upgrades or building improvements that actually pay for itself. And again, it doesn't require capital improvement, CIP money, it doesn't require any impact on budget, it doesn't require, you know, taking on a debt, and there's no impact to your operating budget to implement this thing. What you do get is spaces that are relit, and when we change from fluorescent lighting, not just in here, but when we change from fluorescent lighting to LED lighting, fluorescent lighting has a color rendering index, depending on the quality or the age of it, somewhere between 30 and 40% of natural sunlight. That's a CRI of 100. Our lights are 85%, so immediately something feels different because green looks greener, red looks redder. The colors are going to look different, and it looks like something's been redecorated. Facilities people say, you have to clean the bathrooms better. It seems clearer or brighter, or, you know, everything just looks new. The second thing is that fluorescent lighting puts off a flicker. It's basically mercury vapor gas, hazardous gas, in a tube, and it's lit by electricity. So there's a flicker. Some people are very sensitive to it and pick it up, and other people were just used to it. But everybody gets a little tired by the end of the day. That disappears. There are studies out there, lots of them on the internet, that say, you know, the educational benefits of having, you know, people not being so tired by the end of the day, there's benefit there. Certainly, the special education students are the ones who recognize the most that there's no more things bothering them. The covers can come off the lights, or the lights can go back on because there's no flicker. The third thing is there's no UV signal coming out of LED when fluorescent lights actually put out a small UV signal. So anytime you can eliminate UV is a good thing. We also have not calculated for you the cost that the facilities and maintenance team spends on ballasts replacements, fluorescent tube replacements, paying for the hazardous materials to be disposed of because they have to be disposed of properly, and the ladder time that it takes for that, because your maintenance is virtually going to go to zero on this. There'll be very, very little maintenance here. So all those things we haven't calculated also. There's a lot of good that comes from it as well. Aside from the financials, there's certainly the benefits of, aside from all the smart lighting, you know, improvements, there's certainly those benefits that are, you know, off the ledger, off the financial balance sheet of why this makes so much sense for schools. We gave you some recommendations in terms of, you know, past relevant projects, giving you some school districts, and certainly anybody who would like to go make a visit. We're always excited to have people come visit facilities that have been converted. It's pretty spectacular and makes a huge difference It will be, really a construction project. In terms of timing on how we, depending on your decision-making process, the timing is that we either work, summers during the days, or the teams come in and they start at, they're out in our primary team, including Jamie, who did all the Newry, JC Electric, who did all the Newry buildings recently. They are out in the city of Claremont, New Hampshire. They go into the school at 2:30 in the afternoon and start prepping, and at 3 o'clock they're allowed in the hallways and the classrooms, and they work until midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, and they do that 3 to 4 nights a week, and they go home. So that's the other option also, but certainly either way, you won't know that we were in the school on a daily basis, because the part of the end of the shift is making sure everything's cleaned up so that teachers don't come in and say, why am I finding, pieces of wire or materials on desks or floors? It's all cleaned up behind them each night as they enter and leave the space. So.
I just have a question about, so it sounds like we're paying this back for 9 years, so after we've paid this back and we're paid in full, you provide the service, so what's that, that cost look like after those 9 years in terms of the ongoing service?
So the warranty, our warranty, typically the industry warranty is a 5-year warranty on equipment and 1 year on labor. And that is the labor if something needs to be addressed. We provide a 7-year warranty on the equipment and a 2-year labor. So anything that has to be addressed. What I will say is the amount of warranty work will be very, very minimal. And the reason is the lights are designed to be underdriven. So underdriven means they're built to be driven with more power. When we trim them back, first of all, we've designed them to work at very low amperage, so there's no pressure on the LEDs. We use more LEDs, we get more light. It's not rocket science, it's actually that easy. More LEDs, you get more light for the same amount of power. We also, our assembly team, aside from when they're putting the lights together, they're not only bench testing, but we actually go to zap the lights. We actually put them under, it's called a high pot test. So we shock every light just to make sure it passes. And if it doesn't pass, it gets changed out. It's usually a driver, has to be replaced, the power of the box that's in the light. So we do all that before we actually age test them for a day and then check them again and then pack them. So the maintenance work is very, very little. You may have hundreds of dollars, maybe, on an annualized basis for potentially like a driver replacement or something like that. But everything is also, when we put new lights back into the ceiling, they will be on a quick connect. So you don't actually need an electrician to change out a fixture or a light because they're now on a quick connect versus wired up. And that is partially to make sure that service is easy in the future.
Who applies for the efficiency name?
We do that with you. So Arlen has received lots of communication from Efficiency Maine. We do all the paperwork for you. We get the signatures that we need from you to finalize everything. Once the building is completed, because we've already gotten the approvals on the project, we would come back and Arlen or Mark would be asked to sign off to say, the project is completed, we're satisfied with the work, and it's closed. And then they...
The reason I ask is there's an article in this week's paper about their funding being severely cut by the Fed. And so, the efficiency money may go away, so what happens to that 43 if it's not available?
So we have that reserved from them, from their existing funding. We have it reserved from them, from their existing funding, yes.
Where do you have a company that can save you money and give you new lights? That's pretty extraordinary nowadays. businesses usually come in and they take money away from you. So I think this sounds like a good project. I think it's something that we ought to approve tonight, and we'll see the savings coming in on that over every year, over a period of 9 years, and I think that will do the schools well.
Make a motion to table the matter of April 14th.
We're not voting on anything right now, it's just the presentation.
I thought it's on the, oh, we're
It is on the
right.
agenda, but we're not on that item.
Never mind. Oops.
Are there any questions for Steve? Well, thank you again, Steve. And
Great.
Everyone has their
Thank you
packet.
Thanks for having me. And if there are any further questions that come up, if they're either pooled together or whatever, we'll be happy to do that. And again, the invitation is open if you'd like to do, a group of you would like to come down and, and go take a tour of some schools to see what the after looks like, we'll be happy to do that. Thanks for the invite.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I only have one other thing in the superintendent's report. I was asked to give an update about where things stand with all the changes coming at the federal level and the state level, just of what our numbers look like. So over the last 2 weeks, at both my superintendent's meetings, the Commission of Education has been in our meetings to try and give us her perspective and the latest updates of what they're seeing at the state level, of what's happening with the federal money. As of right now, in both meetings, they have told us both times that all of our federal dollars have been apportioned for the districts and for the state for the next 18 months. So that gives us the remainder of this school year and next school year before that money stops. That covers our part of our food service, special ed reimbursement, all of our title monies are all included in that. And so for our district, just a perspective, it's about $2 million out of our overall budget. Now, nothing is guaranteed, and there's a lot up in the air with this, and it's changing on a regular basis, but that is what we've all been told, and told since everyone's in budget planning season, that we should move forward with that for the coming school year. So at this point in time, that's what we've been doing with the Finance Committee, and we have all those things in place. Now, if something were to change, and that money were to disappear, we would have to look at making some cuts to make up the difference. $2 million isn't just sitting around and waiting. But it's spread out through multiple different areas. So for our district, as of this current school year, you're looking at almost $280,000, which is part of school nutrition, with a match on that from the state. We don't know if the match would disappear, the federal money's not there, so it's closer to $400,000. Special education's just over $172,000. Our budget comes back from the feds. And Title I is the big chunk at $322,000. Those are the big pieces that we get out of our budget. So, again, monitoring as close as we can. Sometimes we watch things on the news just like everybody else, and just waiting to see, but that is what the DOE keeps telling us and keeps going through, and we're getting weekly updates from the commissioner about what they're hearing, what they know, and what we can share out. So that is the latest I have as of last time we met was on Wednesday. And so we'll see, every Friday we get an update from the commissioner, so we'll see if anything changes, but that's what we've been told as far as budgeting purposes and how to move forward with the monies that we have and are known and are slated for that, and how to move forward. So, with that concludes my superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mark. We do not have any old business to tend to this evening, so we'll move on to new business. For number 1, we do not have any adjustments to the agenda. Moving on to number 2, to see what action the board wishes to take in entering an agreement with Affinity Lighting for a lighting renovation project for MSAB 44. And the facilities and personnel will have a recommendation.
Recommend to approve.
We do not need a second when we have a recommendation.
Second.
Discussion.
Motion table, April 14th. I don't know if it's a second or not, but I would put it out there. Pending resolution of the, you know, the references and things, and maybe a little conversation about how it fits in the budget. I support the project, but I make a motion to table, and if I don't get the votes, that's the way it goes.
Is there a second? Seeing none, we will not approve the motion to table. Any further discussion?
Is there any other company that gave a bid for this?
No,
So this is the only.
they reached out to Arlen, actually through Mary, was a suggestion, so we looked into it as an option. This is the proposal we got.
Any further discussion or questions?
I think Amy can probably talk about Nuri's lighting at the town office, if anybody has any questions about their lighting and, or savings that might come back to the town.
So the town directly paid for theirs in their warrant last year. It was in their warrant article. As far as savings, we haven't had a whole year, and the way our CMP bill got re-changed to different time frame, so it's kind of hard to compare this year to last year because it's changed. So that's hard. We do really like the lights. We haven't, we needed to reprogram them. We end up with a book like this of QR codes that you can do, but we've had them come to redo some different zones for us. But so far, they have worked great. A lot less headaches for employees. There's considerable difference to the lighting compared to what we have from the fluorescent lights.
Any further discussion, any comments?
I just think we ought to check the school systems, that's all. I think voting tonight is premature. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of entering into an agreement with the Indy Lighting for a lighting renovation project? Thank you. Opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. Number 3, considered action of board wishes to take in approving the school calendar for the 2025-2026 school year. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Scott. And a second?
Second.
Thank you, David. Any discussion?
You had a chance to look over the calendar. It is essentially the same as this school year, starting with 3 days prior to Labor Day. The biggest difference is 2 full weeks at Christmas. The holidays falling as late as they do. Due to that fact, my proposal is that we only include 3 traditional snow days, and then after 3 snow days going remote, so that the last day of school for staff and students, even with snow days, will be on a Friday, versus wrapping around to the following week. I know we like our traditional snow days, and everyone believes in them. I do too, but I also think that a June cutoff point that we know is going to happen is more important. To have that in place, same number of workshop days. We have to, or I have to make sure that our calendar aligns with SAD 17, RSU 10, RSU 56, and Region 9. By state statute, we have to have no more than 5 days difference between all of us. This allows us to do that and to be in alignment, and it still works with Region 9 as well. So that part was taken over, and I did sit with the TA co-presidents, which is also part of their contract and part of our policy to get approval prior to going to the board. They had no issues with it, so now it comes to the board for final approval to go forward and
calendar for the 2025-2026 school year. Thank you, it's unanimous. Number 4, to see what action the board wishes to take regarding the second reading of policy JJE, student fundraising, and the policy committee will have a recommendation.
And I'll refer to Stephanie for that.
And the policy committee recommends approval.
Thank you. And do not need a second, is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the second reading of policy JJE, student fundraising? Thank you, it's unanimous. Number 5, to see what action the board wishes to take regarding the second reading of policy IJOC, school volunteers. And the policy committee will have a recommendation.
Policy committee recommends approval.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the second reading of policy IJOC, school volunteers? Thank you, it's unanimous. Number 6, to see what action the board wishes to take regarding the first reading of policy JL, wellness policy. And the policy committee will have a recommendation.
Policy committee recommends approval.
We do not need a second, is there any discussion?
So just for everyone's reference, if you look at the policies handed out to you, you have 2 different colors. The red lining was the first edits we went through when comparing past policies, MSMA updates, and the fact we found multiple versions of our own district policy. The blue represents suggestions and edits from the wellness committee and the consultant that was at the wellness conference that we went to that also go at the statewide level. So this is a combination of both, or multiple sets of eyes on from different aspects to come up with a new policy. The other change was one policy we had in the past was called district wellness. Another one was called student wellness, and then the committee actually decided to call it a wellness policy and be more encompassing because the other ones didn't really cover the bill. So that's why it's not just all redlined and edited. You also have blue in there just to show that there's different sets of eyes on there, getting more comprehensive. And this is the first reading through, so just want to make sure everyone understood that.
Any discussion, any comments? Seeing none, all of those in favor of approving the first reading of policy JL, wellness policy? Thank you. Unanimous. Number 7, to see what action the board wishes to take in approving Sarah Bartlett for the probationary contract for the remainder of the 2024-2025 school year in grade 1 at WES. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Thank you, Destiny. And a second?
I'll second.
Moving into discussion, just a reminder to return the, which do we have? Never mind.
I can have copies. Surprise.
Any discussion?
So Sarah is a Telstar graduate who just finished up her schooling at UMaine Farmington. She's been working at different levels with community concepts. She worked at the Crescent Park site previously, and she's been in SAT 17, I think more recently, working. She has applied and interviewed for the position that Tracy Moore is vacating. And Tracy's last day will be this Thursday, so Sarah is actually able to come in this week if you approve her tonight. We have arrangements for her to be able to come in and shadow and to overlap with Tracy this week as a handoff to, one, get to know the kiddos, get to know the classroom, have a more smooth transition as possible, so there'll be no gap in teaching coverage, but also a chance for her to observe and see how the classroom runs and how things are going. It's a classroom, it's a big classroom in first grade. There's 17 kids at Woodstock in the first grade class. So it's a big crew to take on. But the interview committee with Mrs. Clark, Ms. Grasso, and Ms. Yates are very excited for the prospects. Beth, would you like this? I don't want to put you on the spot, but.
No, we're thrilled for the possibility of having her. Everybody who knows her respects her and appreciates her. Yeah, I couldn't ask for anything more at this point, honestly, and we feel really lucky that we have folks interested this evening who are qualified and seem to really excel at their work.
Even get applications, even have applications this point in the school year was a gift. To be able to have viable options and to have qualified candidates on top of that. We won't call it a miracle, but we'll take it. We started the school year without as much of an option, so it should be a really good thing, and really excited for Sarah to have the opportunity, but for the continuity and to have the gap filled in Woodstock without having to have substitute coverage is really special. So I do have the packet if anyone's interested and would like to look at it in particular.
Can you just remember the probationary contract, how long it is?
So there are 2 years of probationary contracts before they get a continuing contract.
Okay.
So it'd be 2 years probationary.
State law, Mark.
Yes,
State law.
yeah. It used to be 3, the state moved it back to 2 a few years back, so everyone must go through that.
I can say that when she was over with Community Concepts with the pre-K class, and my son had her, she was really wonderful.
She was at daycare when she started in high school. My kids still remember her, so.
Yeah.
Will this count as year 1 of the probationary, next year, if you rehire, it would count as year 2 of that probationary?
Technically would in the contract.
Any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving Sarah Bartlett's probationary contract for the 2024-25 school year for grade 1 at WS? Thank you. Seeing none? Number 8, see what action the board wishes to take in approving the superintendent's recommendation of Samantha Grosso as the elementary math curriculum leader for the remainder of the 2024-2025 school year. Thank you, Destiny. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Stephanie. Discussion.
Samantha's willing to step up. Again, this is a position that was vacated by Tracy Moran. She's the K-5 district math curriculum lead, and she is willing to step into this role. She's met with Brian and the elementary principals and excited about the opportunity to be involved. And so this will be for the remainder of this school year, and then those are appointed each year annually. So this is just to finish up the remainder of the school year in this role.
Any questions, discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving Samantha Grosso as the elementary math curriculum leader for 2024-2025? Thank you, it's unanimous.
I make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second, any discussion? All those in favor of adjournment?